You're listening to the Evolving Truths podcast, featuring mother-daughter hosts Shannon Day and Alexus Ray, where honest and vulnerable conversations about personal growth create a connection between all of us. You're invited to experience the transformation that occurs when we allow the truth of who we are to evolve.
Hello, you beautiful heart and soul. Welcome back to the Evolving Truths podcast. My name is Alexus Ray Lopez, and with me, as always, is my mama, Shannon Day. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Alexus.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am fabulous. I am alive, I am awake, and I feel great.
I love that. We talked about that in season 3, those little mantras in our how to keep going episodes, and the fact that you've had that since you were little from one of your grandmas.
Yeah. And really, since we recorded that episode and it got published, I will not lie, I have gone back to using that quite a bit, especially on days that my symptoms are flaring or days that I'm not feeling great and I'm trying to just positively change my energy as best as I can. I am singing it to you, to my dad in the morning when I call him and he asks me how I'm doing. I just say, I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great. And he laughs also.
I love that.
What's going on in your world? It's been a minute. I feel we know we're dusting off the cobwebs a little bit here.
Yeah, the break is nice between seasons, but then when we come back to recording, it's like, wait, do we do this?
Yeah. Is it your turn to talk? Is it my turn to talk? What are we talking about today? How is this going to flow? It's a little getting back into the groove of things.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us on this ride. I got stung by a yellow jacket a couple of days ago, and that little booger stung me under my third toe on my right foot, just like in that perfect little crease spot. And so my toe is all swollen and kind of the foot around it. It's not very fun. And the most bizarre thing about it is that morning or the day before, I had been having a conversation with someone discussing the last time we'd been stung. And then look what happened. And I couldn't even remember, like I was a child. And then that happened. I was like, well, talk about putting something into the universe, I guess. Also, good reminder, Shan, you know they're in your front yard. Put your shoes on. I know that the little booger was just protecting their space, but my toe and foot are feeling the repercussions.
Why were you standing in the grass barefoot? Was it a moment that you were grounding yourself? What were you doing?
Was hanging out on the front porch with some friends and had a phone call from another friend who was like, I need to chat about something. I knew the call was probably going to be a little bit heavy and thought, well, being out in the grass, walking around with my feet in the earth might be a good idea. And the earth bit me.
Oh, silly earth.
Silly earth. Makes trail runs quite interesting. Partway through the run, when that thing starts itching, I'm like, just keep going, just keep going. How about you?
Overall, macro level, I'm doing well. This break has been nice. I think each of us kind of needed it. We were both going through transitions. We were both going into sprints, which was what we talked about at the end of season 3. We literally left off season 3 with 6 principles in order to keep going. And I think each of us have applied those. And on a micro level, my last few days, migraine symptom wise has been rough. Thankfully, today I have a little bit more color back in my face. And yesterday I had a pretty emotional day, feeling overwhelming amounts of gratitude for the days that I do feel good. And it's just humbling when our body reminds us of what a gift it is to be able to function and do the things that we do on a daily basis. I had been getting stressed, thinking I'm not doing enough, or here's all these things that are still left on my to-do list. I'm so grateful to even just get to do anything. And macro and micro level, like, sure, I haven't felt that great the last couple of days, but I got air in my lungs. I can see, I can function. I don't have a full-time caretaker. So all in all, I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel fucking great, dude. Let's go.
As you say, let's go. We are here for season 4.
Yeah, girl.
Of Evolving Truths, which to me is crazy and fun and exciting. I loved our guests in season 3, Nicole and Laura. I loved our conversations, and this season, looking forward to more conversations about things that matter, things that can help us move forward in our life and in a way that looks good for us, and getting to chat with some fun people. What are you looking forward to?
I am excited for the interviews that we have coming up in season 4. I'm getting to meet new people in this process. I'm also very excited about kind of the themes that are coming out in season 4 that we've talked about. Feels like a good combination of reflection as well as moving forward and creating the versions of ourselves that we want to be living in, and drawing, those future desires closer to ourselves by becoming those people now. All of that leads up to the end of the year. With this season, we're going to be running right up to Thanksgiving. We'll take a little holiday break and then get started again with the new year. And it just feels like a really nice combination of reflection and planning. And that makes me excited.
Me too. Also crazy to think that we're in the last half of the year.
Girl, where did it go?
Yeah. So really being able to use this time to think about, what have you done this year? Where are you at? Are there still things that you want to do? And that's definitely something that I just wrote down for myself that I'd like to do for myself. And who knows, maybe that's something we chat about on a future episode.
Totally. And I just want a little bit of clarity before we dive into today's topic. When you say that, do you mean like recapping where you're at this year and what you want to make sure you really get done by the end of the year, or planning for next year? Just break that down for me a little bit more.
I love that you'd like clarity about it. And now that you just asked for clarity, I guess I'll ponder that when I get ready to ponder where I'm at for this year. I don't know that I necessarily want to already start looking to the next year as much as reviewing what my thoughts were for this year and where I'm at, and are there things I'd still like to have accomplished before the end of this year. I'd come at it more from that space.
Measuring your, not necessarily progress, but acknowledging where you're at now from the beginning of the year, whether you're further along than you thought you would be, or if you haven't gotten started. It doesn't, like, don't beat yourself up for that either way, right? Just see where you're at, use it as motivation to set a new endpoint for the end of the year. I like it. All right, we've covered a little bit about season 3. We know that we're coming back to season 4 with enthusiasm, excitement, a different perspective, maybe. And
dare you say?
Dare I say? Should we jump into today's topic?
Let's do it.
Today, I am bringing this to the Evolving Truths Fam Bam perspective. The reason this is coming up is because perspective has been something that I personally have been working on. I would say at times struggle with, and want to talk about it with you.
When you talk about perspective, tell me more. What's coming to mind for you?
What comes to mind when I think about perspective is things are constantly happening that are out of our control. For example, my health. The only thing I can do about it is control my response, and my response is dictated by my perspective. When you break down how we move through life, in reality, we have control over our actions, and we have control over our perspective of those events, those actions, those things that are occurring. So when I think of perspective, I'm thinking about the control that we have over our mindset in circumstances to be able to choose how we're going to view it, what we're going to do with it. And that allows us to be able to move through it. What do you think of when I say perspective, or when you say perspective?
I would agree with you. As you were talking, I was like, well, let's look it up and see what Merriam-Webster has to say about this. And the first definition is just that, a mental view or prospect. And then the interrelation in which a subject or its parts are mentally viewed, the capacity to view things in their true relations or relative importance. And under that one, it says trying to maintain my perspective.
Who knew I could write a dictionary?
We've heard the glass is either half full or half empty.
Yeah, girl.
When I left the domestic violence shelter here, a former executive director wrote me a really nice letter when I left. And she ended the letter saying something like, and remember, in life, it's not if the glass is half full or half empty, but it can always be refilled. Perspective.
That is a good saying. And I'm grateful that you brought up the glass full or glass empty, because over the last few weeks, I have been pondering perspective a lot. And what's really brought it up for me is I'm hustling and bustling in these 3 buckets of my life: maintaining my health, driving my career forward so that I can afford what it takes to maintain my health, and my relationships. I'm just going to say that having a chronic condition that requires ongoing health care is expensive. And the burden that I carry with that weighs very heavily on my pocketbook every single month. And so I have, for the last few months, been stressed about money. I think that many people in this world probably relate to that financial stress for whatever combination is that they're in the circumstances for. Mine just happens to be health related. Maybe 4 weeks ago, I caught myself and realized I'm focusing on the glass being half empty instead of realizing how full it is. So here we are talking about perspective.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you talk about it taking a financial toll, yet in your case, you've been able to manage it and get these treatments that have proven beneficial for you, and having the perspective then to step back and go, yes, this is expensive. This is a lot, yet I'm making it happen, opposed to someone being in a situation where maybe they wouldn't have that ability. And so just really appreciating the fact that you can do that. I remember one time hearing someone talk about when we pay our bills. This was back in the day when we wrote checks. Do you know what a checkbook is, Lexus?
Yeah, girl. I got checks. I know how to write them.
I kid. But they would say, as you write that check and get ready to put it in the envelope, like, send it with gratitude, being grateful that I can pay the utility bill. And on the months when I'm really stressed about these things, still finding a way to kind of shift that perspective and figure out a way that even in the struggle to find something in there that I can grasp onto, some light, viewing it as an opportunity. I think we've talked about that in season 3. I feel like we kind of covered that a handful of times, of viewing struggles as an opportunity.
Definitely.
And a lot of that comes from our perspective. Are we willing to do that? Or do we sit in a space of, well, now I have to face this and then something else. And why do these things always happen to me? And how come it can't be easy for me?
You saying that makes me think of a book that we are both reading right now. It's by Napoleon Hill, called Outwitting the Devil. There is a principle, they call it a law of the universe, law of hypnotic rhythm. And more or less, my takeaway is it's basically the law of attraction, right? What you put into the world is what you get out of it, or is what comes back to you. So if you're sending out positive vibrations, if you're sending out a focus on something, then that is what will be created. you're also performing the actions to match it, right? I want to make sure that that's clear as well when it comes to our perspective. And there was one line that really struck me last night. It says, non-drifters, these are the people that do not live according to fear or letting fear drive their life. Non-drifters do not wait for opportunity to be placed in their way. They create opportunity to find their desires and demands of life.
Whew, I appreciated that part. And I think it's tied to, in life, there are two things we can control. And those things are our thoughts, or as you were saying, our perspective about things. And the other one is time and how we use our time. That for me was really impactful.
Yeah. And we've talked about time. It is the most precious, valuable asset on this earth. It is a non-renewable resource. You cannot borrow it. You do not get more of it. And you do not know when it's going to expire, which then from a perspective point of view, it lets you be so grateful for the moments. Or over the last few weeks, as I've been carrying the weights of my life, trying to say to people, oh, I'm dealing with the problems I've prayed for, or I'm facing the hardships that I once wanted to, right? Like I'm now in the season that I have been trying to get to. And I know I'm trying to get to the next season, but at least the challenges I'm facing right now are the right ones. You saying time and perspective brings me to another book I decided to crack open last night.
Girl, yes, yes, yes.
You want to tell them what it is, Mom?
Well, I gifted this book to you.
Mm-hmm.
And keep hoping that you'll take some time to read it when you're in a spot in your life when you're ready to. And the book is Single is Your Superpower.
Yeah, and it's the workbook. You gifted it to me in the fall of 2020. I have written, this is up here, this is a 2020 entry, this is a 2021 entry, and this was last night's entry, which is August of 2023.
I love it.
But as I was reading the introductory, this sentence jumped out at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perspective, and this is what we're talking about. When you ask yourself the right questions and you consider the right perspectives, you make better decisions. Plain and simple.
Read that again.
When you ask yourself the right questions and you consider the right perspectives, you make better decisions. The questions you ask yourself are the most important ingredients to finally getting it right. There are no right or wrong answers, only personal decisions to do better.
The great thing about perspective is we're talking about an overall viewpoint and way of looking at things that you and I and most who join us here in the Evolving Truths community live by, is that our perspective is that the glass can always be refilled, looking at obstacles or opportunities, fully acknowledging that sometimes shit is just hard and you have to sit in it and you feel it, but you don't have to stay there. And taking that and figuring out ways to move forward with it.
Amen. Applying that is a practice, a skill, a conscious effort. We've talked about habit as a choice so many times throughout our first 3 seasons. And I really think that those few sentences I just read out of that book reiterate that. Choosing to have a more positive or optimistic perspective is a choice, and it becomes a habit by choosing to do it over and over again. I feel extremely fortunate because I had you and I had Dad growing up help me foster that. I want to ask you, as like a parent, a mentor, how did you instill that in me? Look on your face. I mean, I wasn't planning on asking you that, but like, how did you know that that was something that you wanted to give to your daughter?
Well, my belief is as a parent that it's our role to gift our child or children with the ability to do better than us in whatever that looks like. I'm not just referring to finances, like emotionally, spiritually, how they live their life, being able to live it in a way that's fulfilling to them. That was always a goal of mine for you, and for you to feel comfortable in your own skin and confident, endeavoring to give you different tools, better tools perhaps than I had growing up or as an adult. And as I continue to grow and learn things, a desire to share those with you if they benefited me and I thought they could be helpful for you.
Well, all I can do is say thank you.
You're welcome.
I would love if you and I could share some things that have worked for us in shifting perspectives and maybe what those situations were, because that is what I'm really hoping to carry through season 4, and not just season 4, but for anyone listening to this episode to be able to take away and say, I do want to control my perspective, and maybe here's 1 or 2 things that I can start with. What do you think about that?
Oh, I like that, Alexis. That should be a fun discussion, and not only for us, but for the fam bam as well. So knowing that this is something we're going to talk about in our next episode, we'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If you have some things that you're already thinking as you listen to this, or when you share this with someone in your life that you'd love to have this conversation with as well, whatever comes out, feel free to share that with us now. You don't have to wait for episode 2. I look forward to continuing this conversation. I look forward to our guests this season. I look forward to more discussions with you and moving forward in season 4.
I love where we are headed. Like Mom said, please reach out to us if you want to share your perspective, share some tactics that have worked for you to be able to see the glass as half full or ready to be refilled. We will take all of those submissions on our website, evolvingtruthspodcast.com, or you can send us an email at evolvingtruthspodcast@gmail.com. If you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you follow the show on whatever platform you are listening. Share it with someone that you would like to start a conversation with, and we will be back next week. But in the meantime, please remember, life is beautiful and you create the magic.
Have a good one.
Connect with Shannon and Alexus and the Evolving Truths community by visiting evolvingtruthspodcast.com. Links are in the show notes. The artwork for this project was created by Julie B. Salazar and is entitled Celebration from the Inner Landscape print series. The Evolving Truths podcast is produced and edited by Shannon Day and Alexus Ray, recorded from the Corner Studio in conjunction with Alexus Ray Enterprises, LLC.